Hollywood's golden age may feel like a distant memory, but a surprising few stars from that glittering era are still alive today. Some remain active, while others have stepped into quiet, private lives far from the spotlight. From Oscar winners to television icons, these living legends continue to connect us to a time of unmatched glamour. You might be shocked at who's still with us. 1. Eva Marie Saint. At 100 years old, Eva Marie Saint is one of the last true bridges to Hollywood's golden age. She won an Academy Award for her breakout role in On the Waterfront, 1954, opposite Marlon Brando, a performance that instantly placed her among the greats. A few years later, Alfred Hitchcock cast her in North by Northwest, 1959, pairing her with Cary Grant in what remains one of the most iconic thrillers ever made. Unlike many actresses of her era, Saint managed to avoid scandal and typecasting, building a reputation as both elegant and versatile. She later appeared in films like Superman Returns, 2006, reminding audiences of her timeless presence. Today, Saint lives a quiet life away from the Hollywood spotlight. Though she rarely makes public appearances, every glimpse of her reminds fans that she is a living link to cinema's golden years. But she isn't the only star who has defied time. 2. June Lockhart. Few actresses are as deeply woven into American television history as June Lockhart. Now 98 years old, she first appeared on screen as a child in A Christmas Carol, 1938. But it was her roles as warm, dependable mothers that made her unforgettable. Millions of families welcomed her into their homes during the 1950s and 1960s when she starred in Lassie and later as Dr. Maureen Robinson in Lost in Space. Beyond those iconic roles, Lockhart kept a steady presence on screen, appearing in everything from Petticoat Junction to General Hospital, even guest starring on Full House and Grey's Anatomy. What makes her story remarkable is how she kept adapting to new generations of viewers without ever losing her graceful charm. Even in her later years, she's appeared at fan conventions, still engaging warmly with admirers. At nearly a century old, June Lockhart remains a living reminder of the comforting television figures who helped define mid-century America. And yet, others from her era forged even larger careers. 3. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood is a rare example of a Hollywood star who not only survived the golden age, but continued reinventing himself decade after decade. Now 94 years old, he first found fame in the television series Rawhide during the 1950s before Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns in the 1960s transformed him into a global icon. Films like A Fistful of Dollars and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly gave him a steely-eyed persona that carried into Dirty Harry in the 1970s. But Eastwood refused to be limited to one archetype. He became an acclaimed director, winning Oscars for Unforgiven and $1 Million Baby. Even in his 90s, he has shown no interest in slowing down, directing, and starring in Cry Macho in 2021. Off-screen, Eastwood lives in Carmel, California, where he once served as mayor. His astonishing career longevity and ability to remain relevant well into old age set him apart from nearly every one of his peers. And yet, not every star endured with such constant reinvention. 4. Mel Brooks. At 98 years old, Mel Brooks stands as one of the last living titans of comedy. His career began in the 1950s as a writer on Sid Caesar's Your Show of Shows, but it was his sharp wit and daring humor that made him a legend. In the 1960s, he co-created the classic television series Get Smart, and by the 1970s, Brooks was directing some of the most outrageous comedies ever put to film. The producers, Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein, not only redefined parody, but also cemented his reputation as a fearless innovator, unafraid to push boundaries. Unlike many of his peers, Brooks has never disappeared from public life. In recent years, he has voiced animated characters in films like Hotel Transylvania and still appears on television, always quick with a laugh. His boundless energy and humor make it hard to believe his career spans nearly 8 decades. But while Brooks still relishes the spotlight, others from his generation quietly stepped away long ago. 5. Ann Blyth. At 96 years old, Ann Blyth remains one of the last surviving leading ladies from the 1940s studio system. She made her film debut as a teenager, but it was her unforgettable turn in Mildred Pierce, 1945, that cemented her place in Hollywood history. Playing the icy, manipulative daughter opposite Joan Crawford, Blyth earned an Academy Award nomination at just 17 years old. Though she never reached the same fame as Crawford or Bette Davis, she carved out her own career in musicals and dramas, appearing in films like The Student Prince and Kismet. In the 1950s and 60s, she transitioned into television guest appearances while raising a family, ultimately stepping away from the relentless pace of Hollywood. Today, Blyth lives a private life, but occasionally appears at film festivals or retrospectives where fans are stunned to see a star of the 1940s still with us. And while she chose a quieter path, others from her era remained in the public eye for decades. 6. Joan Collins. At 91 years old, Joan Collins continues to embody glamour in a way few stars ever could. She began acting in British films during the 1950s before making her way to Hollywood, where her striking beauty and sharp wit quickly set her apart. Collins appeared in a range of films, but it was television that immortalized her. In the 1980s, she became a global sensation as the scheming Alexis Carrington on Dynasty, a role that turned her into a fashion icon and household name. Off-screen, Collins has built a career as a writer, penning both novels and memoirs, while never shying away from sharing her opinions about fame, aging, and Hollywood itself. Remarkably active well into her 90s, she is often photographed at red carpet events, dressed with the same bold elegance that defined her at her peak. Joan Collins has proven that even with the passage of time, charisma and presence never truly fade. But not every legend's life has been so glamorous. 7. Robert Wagner. Robert Wagner's career is a testament to how quickly Hollywood can transform a young hopeful into a household name. Discovered in the early 1950s, Wagner's early work included films like A Kiss Before Dying and The Pink Panther. But it was television that made him a star, thanks to his suave turn as Jonathan Hart in Heart to Heart, which ran through the 1980s. Later, he gained a new generation of fans playing number 2 in the Austin Powers films. Now 94 years old, Wagner lives in Aspen, Colorado, with his wife, actress Jill St. John. Despite his enduring popularity, his name has often been tied to the decades-old mystery of Natalie Wood's tragic death, a cloud that has never entirely lifted. Yet Wagner remains a figure of fascination, having navigated Hollywood fame, scandal, and reinvention across more than 7 decades. His story proves that even the most celebrated careers can be shadowed by unanswered questions. And he's not the only one who walked away from Hollywood's spotlight. 8. Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman is one of those rare actors whose presence could dominate any film, no matter the role. Now 94 years old, his career spanned more than 4 decades, beginning with small parts in the 1960s before exploding with his Oscar-winning performance in The French Connection, 1971. From there, he seemed unstoppable. Superman, Hoosiers, Mississippi Burning, and Unforgiven showcased his range, whether as a ruthless villain or a flawed hero. Hackman retired from acting in 2004, quietly stepping away from the industry at the height of his power. Since then, he's focused on writing, co-authoring several historical novels with archaeologist Daniel Lenihan. Living in Santa Fe with his wife, Hackman rarely appears in public, which has fueled endless speculation about his health. Each time paparazzi photos surface, fans are stunned that one of cinema's toughest screen legends is still alive and thriving. His quiet retirement stands in stark contrast to others who continue to embrace the spotlight in their later years. 9. Barbara Eden. Barbara Eden may forever be remembered as the enchanting genie who won America's heart in the 1960s sitcom I Dream of Jeannie. Now 93 years old, her mischievous smile and sparkling personality still captivate fans more than half a century later. Before her breakout, Eden appeared in dozens of television shows and films, but it was Jeannie that made her a pop culture icon. Even after the series ended, she embraced the role, reprising it in reunion specials and delighting audiences with her enduring charm. What sets Eden apart is how active she has remained. She has performed in stage plays, appeared at fan conventions, and even published a memoir, Jeannie Out of the Bottle. Known for her warmth and accessibility, Eden has always embraced her fans rather than shying away from them. Her ongoing connection to audiences proves that television magic can outlast generations. And as surprising as her longevity is, one last legendary entertainer has defied time in an even more remarkable way. 10. Dick Van Dyke. At 98 years old, Dick Van Dyke might be the most astonishing example of Hollywood vitality. He rose to fame in the 1960s with The Dick Van Dyke Show, which showcased his effortless mix of charm and physical comedy. Soon after, he cemented his place in cinema history with Mary Poppins, 1964, singing and dancing alongside Julie Andrews in one of Disney's most beloved classics. His career carried on through decades of television, film, and stage work, earning him a reputation as one of entertainment's most enduring performers. What continues to amaze audiences is his energy even today. Van Dyke has been seen singing, dancing, and even competing on The Masked Singer in his late 90s. His positivity and zest for life make him not only a Hollywood legend, but also an inspiration to generations who grew up watching him. Few stars embody joy the way Van Dyke does. From Eva Marie Saint to Dick Van Dyke, these remarkable stars remind us that the golden age of Hollywood isn't entirely gone. It still lives through them. Each carries a legacy of unforgettable performances, groundbreaking roles, and stories that continue to inspire new generations. Their lives prove that true stardom never really fades, even as decades pass. Which of today's stars do you think will still be remembered 70 years from now? Drop a comment below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more forgotten Hollywood tales.